Welcome to episode 3 of the ForeRight podcast. This time we're joined by Alex Peterson. He's a club fitter for Titleist and a friend of ours.
Yes, very much so. And one of the originals of the ForeRight.
Yeah.
You and him started ForeRight, and as you so kindly point out every time it's mentioned, it feels like it's named after me and my tee shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we got the idea. We're sitting in the pro shop and you were playing. I'm like, why is Jay always out there?
Yeah. Anyway, lovely to have you here, Alex.
Thanks, Matt. I think our logo is actually modelled on your swag.
I don't even know what the logo is, but I'm assuming it's not flattering.
Not really, mate. Not really.
Yes, after two esteemed guests in Kazuma Kabori, who's a gun young golfer, and John Quinn, who's a gun mental skills coach. So you have a lot to live up to. And based on what we know of you, you're probably going to need to surprise both of us, quite frankly.
Well, mate, I wear size 9.5 shoes, so yeah, we'll be good. We'll be right.
I'm not sure where's it going.
I'm not sure.
Great to have you here, man.
So we've got the Masters on this week, and it is Thursday evening here in New Zealand, which for us, the Masters starts tomorrow morning, 1 a.m.
Just for all our international viewers and listeners, that's critical to know.
1 a.m. Foxy tees off, New Zealand time, Jay, not actually American time.
It was actually Alex, I think, that made that.
So 1 a.m.
for the record.
Foxy tees off. But we'll talk about the Masters because it is probably the event I look forward to the most of the majors and some of the golf events. And we know that Alex's favourite player is Max Homa. So you can kick us off, Alex. Why are you a fan of Max?
It's a good question, Scotty. I think probably for most Max Homa fans, it all kind of started from sort of his funny Twitter stories and his social media stuff. And he came across as a very kind of non-stereotypical golfer, obviously very, very funny. And then I kind of saw him a lot on the No Lane Up content on YouTube. He kind of appeared on a few videos there, and he just seemed like a really fun, cool guy. Again, not very golf stereotypical. And I think that maybe resonated with me because it's starting late to golf. He was probably someone that I could relate to a little bit more. And then particularly over the last couple of years, he's definitely started to up his game. And you kind of look at him when he is playing and he's almost got that don't mess with me look about him. Like you wouldn't want to go up and chat to him. Kind of like that, the Stone Cold Killer look, I suppose, that Tiger had back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. So it's pretty cool seeing him do really, really well and then still have that very different attitude and laid back personality that you don't really see too much with in the golfing space.
Very in-depth answer. What's your take on Max Homa?
Yeah, I like him. I'm a fan. I came across him first on Twitter as well. I thought he was quite funny.
When you say first, you mean before Alex?
Before Alex, yeah. But I never really followed him on the golf course. He wasn't massively popular on the golf course at that stage, or winning or competing in PGA. He was competing, but contending in PGA Tour events, so didn't follow his golf that closely. And Alex has just taken it to another level, and instead of fitting himself to clubs that fit him, he's fit himself to clubs that fit Max Homa, and he must be close to 14 clubs in the bag that match Max's bag.
Is that actually true, AP?
Well, I mean, look, Jay, if they're good enough for him, then they're probably good enough for me, okay?
If they're good enough for him, they're probably too good for you, mate. It's probably where you need to go with that.
Yeah, but they also look really cool.
Yeah.
Good to know that's what club fitting's about.
Yes, yeah. Well,
I promise I'm not actually like that with my customers that I fit, I promise.
Yeah, well, we're going to come back to that, I think. I had a question for you then around Max, but he completely threw me with that statement, or you threw me with that statement. So I'm out. I'm done.
Cool. Couple of talking points this week. How is Rory going to go? Is he going to complete the career Grand Slam? He seems to be flying under the radar a little bit more this year than any other year. What are your thoughts around
it? Can I start off this conversation, because I feel
we're already
like,
3 minutes in, but go on.
Yeah, I feel like supporting Rory coming into the Masters draws some pretty close parallels to a New Zealander supporting the Warriors in the NRL. Every single year, Rory says all the right things, does all the right things, coming up to the Masters, and then, that Sunday when you're watching him and he either leaves his charge too late or he just absolutely craps the bed, you're kind of walking out on Monday morning with white paint and a big red nose because you're a bit of a clown for doing it year after year, supporting him. I want to say that it's not going to be the same this year, but I say that about the New Zealand Warriors every year as well. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I've got the heart to support him one more year.
I reckon he'll go well. I reckon it's his year.
It's his year. Heard it here first.
Yeah. And I didn't pick him in our sweep either.
No.
I think maybe he was gone by the time it got to me on the draft.
Yeah, he was gone. Should we talk about our sweep?
Yeah, let's talk about the sweep.
So we've got our office sweep. We've got the Masters trophy up for grabs here. We've taken this from Mike Campbell's desk. Not the Michael Campbell, not the major winner Michael Campbell, but the Scottish version that works in our office. Trophy's up for grabs this week. We have an office sweepstake. 5 players are picked by each person. We've got 7 in the office this year playing. 3 scores count each day out of your 5 players. You get drawn, so there's a draft for the players for 1 to 20. So everyone picks someone from 1 to 10 and then again from 11 to 20. And you can also pick 3 players, including 1 live player from the rest of the field. So
with the draft picks, so Scotty's name, let's say it comes out first in the draft, he gets the first pick of players 1 to 10, and once he's picked that player is now out. So I think Mike Campbell actually came out first, didn't he, and picked Scotty Scheffler, so that means no one else can pick Scheffler for the week, which is a pretty big advantage. And then it's reverse order for drawing players 11 to 20, so it's quite fun.
I think it's my year. I have the second pick. And I had the second pick. I used my first pick on John Rahm and feeling quite good about that. I think he might win the Masters this year.
He's on the most consecutive cuts in majors, eh?
Is he?
Of any player, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe it's current, I don't know, but yeah. And I want to say, is he 5 out of 6 top 10s at the Masters or something out of the last 6? Yeah. Anyway, so it's a good pick. Well played.
Rory was taken off the board. You had the 6th pick, Jay.
Out of 7.
Who'd you take?
I took Victor Hovland.
Yeah, big
Love
fan.
him.
He's my
Big
favourite
fan.
player at the moment,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then we switched up 11 to 20. You had the second pick out of that group, and you ended up picking the 20th ranked player in the world. So you could have had Max Homer at number 11. Chose to leave him on the board, which Alex would be disappointed. You picked number 11.
I picked number 20.
Picked number 20, out of 11 to 20. You picked Colin with 2 L's, Colin Morikawa.
Yeah.
Why'd you go with him?
He's actually got a good record at Augusta. Good ball striker, good putter. And, yeah, I noticed on there, no one picked Max Homer.
No. No, the 11th best player in the world.
I would have, guys. I would have.
Yeah.
And then my turn came around, so I picked 6th in the second half, and Tommy Fleetwood was left on the board at number 13. It was either between him or Tyrrell Hatton. I was going to go 5 live players after picking John Rahm first. I thought we might theme it up and go 5 live players. Tyrrell's record isn't that great around Augusta, so I ended up going with Tommy Fleetwood. And my 3 picks, I went with Tony Finau, Cam Smith, and Brooks Koepka.
So for the next 3 picks, you have to pick 2 outside the top 20 in the world and 1 live player. And so I picked Corey Connors, Canadian flusher, Will Zalatoris, the Blade, and Brooks Koepka.
You had a cheeky smirk when you said the Blade, but
yeah,
he goes all right around Augusta. Alex was talking about him earlier, how well he putts.
Yeah, tell us that stat, Alex.
Yeah, well, this is not a stat I found out. I heard this today, but of the past 5 years, the 2 best putters, strokes gained-wise, now granted, it's not based on someone playing every tournament. Will Zalatoris has missed a couple just with injury, but himself and Cam Smith, strokes gained wise, are the two best putters over the last 5 years at Augusta, which is very, very surprising, given his, I guess, quote unquote yips that he's got with the putter. And big news equipment wise, obviously he's gone to a broomstick LAB putter. I think it probably would have been about a month ago. Not really sure how he has been putting, but big changes for him there. So it'll be exciting to see how Will goes.
Yeah. What equipment did he use, or what did he use putter-wise prior to that?
We used a Scotty Cameron. I think it was like a big mallet style putter. He'd also experimented with, I think, like a 38-inch arm lock style as well.
Yeah.
So he's gone through a few, but I think the main one was maybe a Phantom X 12.0, obviously tour shoe version. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the broomstick. I mean, obviously it's worked for a few people in the past when they've had issues. So yeah, hopefully it works well for him.
Trivia question, which is going to be a shit one because I don't know the answer, but how many players have won the Masters with a broomstick?
One that I can think of immediately.
Adam Scott. Did Cabrera win with a broomstick?
I was just going to ask about Cabrera.
And what about Bernard Langer? Was he broomy then, or was he just the old arm lock?
Yeah, who knows?
Good trivia question.
Good trivia
the
question.
Answer,
Better if you knew the answer, yeah.
You want me to Google it?
I think you should. And do you think you'll ever get to Augusta? Not as a player, granted, but is it someplace you think you will go? Obviously, we all would love to go, but do you think you'll go?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's so cool, and everyone that has either been there or has talked about it says it's the one place that sort of exceeds expectations, and those expectations are always pretty high.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things, bucket list things, where you go, you know what, it's worth saving up X amount of dollars, because I would like to get there one day. So I'll say yes.
Nice. Have you got the answer for us, AP?
Yeah, I've Googled, who has won the Masters with a broomstick putter, and I only see Adam Scott. So
there you go.
I'd assume it would be just him. Or in saying that, Akshay Bhatia. Hopefully,
Akshay Bhatia. Yeah, he won last week. PGA Tour.
He's also got the broomstick. Not saying he's going to win, but he's obviously in a pretty good run of form at the moment. So maybe broomstick is the way.
And Alex, do you think that you'll ever make your way over to Augusta for the Masters?
I mean, I would love to. Obviously, quite an expensive trip. It would be probably a life-changing experience. Yeah, I'd love to. So, Matt, look, should we all go? Should we just organise it now?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, you've been though, haven't you, Jay?
I have been, yep, and it does exceed expectations. I wasn't sure if it was in this chat or not, because I've got a memory like a sieve, but you said the Masters, is your favourite major. The one you look forward to the most.
I look forward to the most. I think if I could play in one, which is never going to happen, but I think I'd like to play in the Open Championship.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
Yeah, I think I'd maybe not enjoy playing in it, but I'd like to play in that one.
Yeah, because I kind of think for me, the Open's probably still my favourite, I think. Memories of getting up in the middle of the night with Dad and watching it in front of the fire and Seve Ballesteros and, that nature. But I guess Augusta's so perfect, isn't it, if you look at it there?
The one thing I've always liked about the Open is the length of coverage. You can just sit there and watch it for 12 hours. They play the entire round from start to finish, whereas you don't generally get that. They have improved that now with the special channels where you get to watch Amen Corner and things like that. But in terms of the coverage, you could just sit and watch the Open for hours and hours.
Yeah. And the ironic thing about the majors is the PGA generally has the best field, but it's the least, like no one ever says, the PGA is my favourite major. Do they?
No.
It's always everyone's fourth. It's always between the Open and the Masters as number 1 and 2. US Open's third and PGA's fourth. No debates on that?
No.
What's your number 1, AP?
Oh, I'm definitely the Open. But I think I'll probably be a little bit biased there because that's the only major I've ever been to.
So where'd you go?
I went to Royal Birkdale in 2016.
Who won that?
Jordan Spieth won. And there was a famous, he absolutely blew up on one hole. I want to say it was between holes 13 and 15. I can't remember.
That would be 14.
You're right there, Jay. But he's blown one way right.
ForeRight, ironically.
Genuinely ForeRight. And then he's ended up having to take a unplayable on the in the actual tour trucks, and then he's taken another unplayable TMI or TMO, whatever it's called, then place it on the driving range, then had to hit quite a long shot kind of over towards the green again. But I was lucky enough to literally just stumble across him while he was kind of going through that process, and was kind of about 5 meters away from him when he was taking the shot. So it was quite a cool experience. It must be pretty damn tough with that amount of crowd in that situation to stay calm and composed, which he did, because whatever he said to the crowd and whatever the marshals said, essentially we didn't really listen. So the management of that was pretty cool to see. And obviously he's kind of come back after that, birdied the next. I think he might have eagled the next, and then birdied the 17th to then win it by 2 or 3 shots, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. How far right was that tee shot?
You know how far right you hit them, Jay?
Jay doesn't hit it long enough to hit it too far right, though.
True. No, from the middle of the fairway, it would easily be 70 meters right.
Oh, we've all done that.
Just quickly on the majors, the one advantage that Augusta has, or the Masters have, is it's at Augusta every year. So you get really familiar with the holes, the pin locations, and that type of thing. The Open's on a rotation with limited courses, so you're kind of familiar with that. And then you get to the other two where they do go around the place. So you're kind of learning about a lot of the courses for the first time each year they go there. So I think that's one reason that this tends to be a favourite, is you know what to expect every time. You can kind of go in, I'm looking forward to the 12th on Sunday because this has happened in the past. There's some history there.
Yeah. Amen corner.
That's interesting, because I was thinking about that today, obviously being the only major that goes back to the same place every year. On the flip side of that, you'd kind of think that you'd almost get bored of it because it's the same course over and over again, but you just don't, which I think is obviously credit to how they run it and what they do there. So obviously it's pretty damn special.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Unanswerable question. As a 3-ball Ambrose, do we break 80 around Augusta on Sunday setup?
Yeah.
Do we break par?
Really?
Shit, no. Break 80, yeah, because you got the par 5s where you're going to skank a couple of good shots between 3 of us.
We're not that long though, Jay.
No, but the par 5s, and you can hit it way right there on a lot of holes.
But we're not breaking par.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. We're not very good.
We've got 3 very average putters. So
I'm using the broomstick at the moment, actually, so I might...
Oh, yeah, the broomstick's going out. 3 broomsticks. What would you shoot by yourself, Jay? I remember you talking about this ages ago. Because obviously you're the only one that's actually been there. What would you shoot? Like, would it be in the hundreds?
Oh, wow.
Wow. No, but it would probably be in the high 80s, I reckon. It's hard course. It's long.
Okay. Yeah.
And you'd have to have a couple of cracks at it. Maybe I would shoot in the hundreds, actually. Never got 100 playing cricket. Maybe I do it playing golf.
No, fair enough. What about if you had a caddy and everything? How much do caddies help, you reckon? Obviously not necessarily just at Augusta, but at other courses. Again, like you've done some caddying and whatnot.
I don't think I help very much in my experience.
But how many shots do you reckon they would take off?
I think it would depend on the player and the player's needs. And I think nowadays, if we're going to be serious for a minute, I think the way that we understand golf now through analytics has made it a lot easier for young players to do a lot of the work themselves and take a lot of the emotional decision-making out of play. So therefore, I'm not sure that the old traditional caddy is as maybe as beneficial as they once were. With technology like TrackMan, people know how far they hit the ball. They can normalize to conditions. So when they're traveling, they can set the temperature and the humidity and the elevation to a certain height. So they know how far they're hitting it. They're practicing better nowadays in terms of using that data and training, and then their understanding of strategy and course management. I think, I don't know, like to me, I'd be pretty specific if I was to be playing and have a caddy. I'm not sure that I would go with the traditional, let's say, old school caddy.
So I know obviously we've had the fortunate opportunity to play at, Tara Iti, where you have to take caddies. And I know for me, like, you guys know my game well enough, I make some pretty dumb decisions out on the golf course. It's not really my strong point. So, when I was there, my caddy essentially just told me where to go almost every single shot, and felt like I played relatively well that day. So I think for me, that there is pretty beneficial, but I think it's probably more so because of me being a little bit dumb on the course, rather than maybe the caddy being extremely helpful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you got to think these guys that are playing, especially at this level and on any of the major tours, they're not generally there by accident. Yeah. Most of the young players have come through a pretty tidy amateur career nowadays, or a college career. And so they've been exposed to a fair amount of stuff that you would have been exposed to too had you taken up golf earlier. You just hung around playing cricket and were late to golf. So
chase the dream, mate.
Chase the dream, yeah. You do look a little bit like Tim Southey. So
not anymore, mate. I've gotten old and grey.
All right, I've got a couple of quick fires. So from you two, it's just a yes or
a race?
No.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to name some players. Do they make the top 5 at Augusta?
Yes.
Damn it, shitty one. Ricky Fowler.
No.
Rory McIlroy.
Yes.
Yes.
Cam Smith.
No.
Yes.
Brooks Koepka.
Yes.
Yes.
Scotty Scheffler.
No.
No.
Wow. John Rahm.
No.
No.
Tiger Woods.
No.
All right, and last one before we move on to some club fitting stuff. If you could play one hole at Augusta,
12.
Which will you play?
Ooh. I'd probably go 15, mainly just because I love that shot, that second shot in. It's probably like a 240 yarder if you bomb a drive down there over water. So I'll probably take that one.
What would you do?
16.
Oh, yeah.
Par 3.
Hole in one chance. Sunday pin, yeah?
Sunday pin, yeah.
Not that front right one.
Yeah. 12 to a Sunday pin for me would be the whole Sunday pin for sure.
Right, by the way,
I'll carry on. There you go.
Before we move on quickly, so I'm going to give some context as to why I've said no to Scotty Scheffler being in the top 5. So
that was a quick fire question, man.
Yeah. There's nothing quick about me, Jay. So his wife is heavily pregnant at the moment, and he came out and said the other day that if she does go into labour, he's withdrawing, even if he is playing. So I'd put that. So that's why I kind of almost hope that she goes into labour so he leaves, so everyone else has a chance. But I'd put that question to you guys. What would you do in that situation?
Well, my wife doesn't listen to this, so she would make me do the same.
If I was as good as Scotty Scheffler and knew I'd play again, I would happily leave if it was my one chance.
Yeah.
And I qualified, it might be a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do, AP?
Oh, I'd play for sure. Yeah.
What if it was a different tournament, like Korean Open or something?
I'll have to get back to you on that one, Jay.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So we joked about Alex fitting himself for Max Homer's needs rather than his own. Talk to us a little bit about the fitting process that you go through with someone, Alex, because while it is cool to have a cool looking bag and for the clubs to look cool, may not be the best solution. So yeah, start us off, pretty broad question, but we'll dig into it from there.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because I think still a lot of people don't really know what goes on during a fitting. And it is actually a pretty simple process. Obviously the player comes in, we first discuss their bag and I guess address where we're going to be looking, whether it be irons, driver, fairway, hybrid, wedges, putter, or everything. We then get them to hit shots with their own club so we can, I guess, assess where the improvement needs to come from, how they deliver it, and kind of just what we can do. From there, it's very much about tailoring the testing process to what the player needs. So, a very simple example would be someone comes in, I'm not hitting it far enough with my irons, I need to hit it further, I need to hit it higher, etc., etc. Cool. They hit their clubs. We test, I use TrackMan, we test out how far they're hitting it, how high they're hitting it, etc. And then we'll go through and we'll test out all of the Titleist heads. So even if a player is a super high handicapper or a really low handicapper, I'll generally get them to hit all of our heads, just because there's no kind of preconceived ideas anymore with fitting. Will Zalatoris has a T350 in his bag, and he has a full set of T150s. So T350 being the most game improvement iron, and T150 not necessarily being our most player head, that probably more so the T100 and MB and CB. So test them all out, because we never know until we test. And then from there we'll assess which head to choose, because the head always has more influence on the golf shot than the shaft. Don't get me wrong, the shaft is obviously still very important, but a change in head will always produce a bigger difference than what a shaft would. So get the head right, and then we can start looking at the shaft, the length, the lie angle, settings on the head if it's a driver, maybe some change in CG location. Again, just tailoring it to the golfer's need, I suppose. And then we just continue through the testing process until we find the right combination that works for the player and feels the best, and the results kind of, I guess, then speak for themselves. So that would be a very quick overview of what I do.
AP, with the fitting thing you mentioned there, the shaft not being as important, why is it that when you go into a club room simulator, you see 3 different heads but 50 different shafts?
It's a good question. I guess every golfer has a different, obviously, style of swing, but we always say a shaft is timing, and timing is so hard to get right. So, the shaft is not necessarily going to get you 10 or 15 extra meters carry. It might get you it might allow you to hit the middle of the face more often, because it works well with your timing. But I think that's probably the main reason why there are so many different shafts there, is because it's also different for different people, if that makes sense. With the heads, we can make setting changes on the head, so that's probably why we don't see as many. With say a 9-degree driver, I could loft it down to 8.25, flatten the head out as well, or I could loft it up to 10.5, maybe go a little bit upright, or even flatter again, whatever it may be. So we can make those adjustments on those heads, if that makes sense.
I was going to say, I think as a bit of a plug for you, last night I came down, you were in the simulator doing some fitting, and I came down and just grabbed a driver and started hitting a couple, partly having a conversation with you, just not really intentional. And then the cool thing was you said, "Here, let me make you a driver." And I went, no, I'm only mucking around. And anyway, in the end, you gave me a new driver, and it dramatically changed my spin rate and therefore my ball speed. What did you see there, mate, or what did you do? And that was literally within 5 minutes. I would have gained at least 5 miles an hour of ball speed.
Yeah, well, I think the head wasn't quite right for you. What you grabbed, you had a higher spin head with more loft. So I went down in loft. So I actually went down to 8 degrees. So loft is going to be probably the main influencer for spin. People always think that the shaft is going to have this massive influence on spin, which it definitely can. But again, the head's going to have more of that influence there. So we knock that spin down, we knock that height down, because your shots seem to be going a little bit high, a little bit spinny, and kind of floating. So it didn't really get the output for your input, because you were swinging it relatively fast.
Yeah, it was rapid.
last night, Jay. For you anyway.
I am a grandfather, so I reckon I'm probably the fastest grandfather in the country.
In the country.
In the country. I'll lay that out there.
All right, we should test this.
Yeah, any grandfathers listening, want to challenge him?
My dad's probably the one that's going to listen, but I've got him.
Fair enough. But yeah, and obviously with less loft comes a little bit more compression with your delivery, because you were, I think from memory, maybe 2 degrees up. So, if you're hitting a long way, or not a long way up, if you're hitting up on it with a lot of loft, the ball's not going to compress. It's almost like a bit of a glancing blow, and obviously add some spin. So went down a loft, bit more compression, less spin, flatter flight. It was, faster ball speed, and then obviously longer distance, which we all want.
I certainly do, and I very much appreciate the time, and would suggest that it's something that I probably don't pay enough attention to. I guess you get a bit lazy, don't you, when you're, in the industry, and you just kind of grab one off the shelf or off the fitting, which is probably not ideal, but it certainly made me think last night, maybe I should have a look at that. So I do appreciate it. Thank you.
We're getting to the point now with our accounts, if our staff pros try and order equipment for them and they haven't been fitted, we pretty much say, no, you've got to be rechecked and then you can order it. So just trying to, safeguard not just our product, but, the people that use it as well.
That makes sense, right? I mean, you got your own standards to uphold, as you were.
Oh, you're going somewhere with that?
No, I wasn't. I was more just thinking, because at the end of the day, they're your shop window in many ways, aren't they? Your ambassadors that you've got around the country.
Oh, they've got so much influence, and we've got so many great ambassadors that we do work with, and so we want to just make sure they're in the right stuff.
I was going to say I'm playing speed golf next weekend, and I will take driver as one of my clubs. I'll take 4 clubs. So I've been playing around with a couple of different drivers because I didn't want to take my one I normally game, potential for it to be scratched up with clubs banging against each other. So grabbed one of my old drivers and took that out and had a couple of nice shots with it, but wasn't that great. And there's probably a reason it's my old driver.
Yeah.
But then I think I automatically default to, but I'm running. I probably wouldn't have hit it that well anyway. But after talking about the fitting process and that, maybe I'm better to probably take my driver if I want the results.
Yeah, I reckon. Does it matter that I guess you can't put a head cover on because it just slow you down?
It's not what's on the outside that counts, Scotty. So don't worry about it getting scratched up.
Yeah,
okay. I don't know.
Alex, talk us through your bag. What's in your bag?
So I'll start from the putter, I suppose. I use the Scotty Cameron Phantom 5.5. So mallet. I'm not good enough for a blade, so something a little bit more stable. The neck is a little bit shorter, kind of closer to the head, so therefore just allows the putter to rotate just that little bit more, so a bit of what we call toe flow. Just for me, my bad one's a bit of a block or a bit of a fan. So just to kind of get away from that, just allow that toe to turn over a little bit more. 34 inches, so a little bit shorter. Just lets me kind of get over the ball a little bit more. Going into wedges.
Before we go to wedges, so you said you're not good enough for a mallet.
For a blade.
For a blade. First part of the question will be, why do you say that? But second part, I heard on the at the range coverage at the Masters that something like 83% of players now use mallets on the PGA Tour, from maybe 15 years ago where it was switched over. Do you want to talk about why that may have changed? And why did you say you're not good enough for a mallet, for a blade? Sorry.
I guess I don't practice, and if I do ever get some time to practice, it's definitely not putting. So I still miss-hit putts, and I simply can't afford to have a putt, 6 feet short because I've missed it out on the toe or missed it on the heel, because I know that from 6 feet I'm pretty rubbish as well. So I just need that little bit of extra stability there, just for those times where I'm just not quite on and not quite hitting the middle of the face. I think the point of everyone moving to mallets, stability is a big thing, and even for the guys on tour who very rarely miss the face, they still do, and those shots where they do miss the middle of the face, that could be $10,000, could be $1 million. That missed putt. So it's almost to an extent, why wouldn't they? Unless they had a very specific style that they like to look down on, and they can't kind of deal with something maybe a little bit bigger, then I'd say, most people should look at a bigger headed putter, just for that fact. And in my opinion, I think mallet putters are maybe a little bit easier to control pace on lag putts. I think, again, if we're talking about the mishit, it's going to exaggerate for a longer putt. 30 feet misstruck with a blade is going to be a lot worse than a 30 feet misstruck putt with a mallet. So we don't hit it to 6 feet every time. If we did, we'd be Scotty Scheffler. But obviously, I've kind of seen him and his transformation once he's gone to a mallet as well. Like, that was probably one of the biggest or best examples of what it can do for a golfer. So, yeah, get all over the mallet. I know you've changed to a mallet, Scotty. Jay, what are you using at the moment?
Yeah, well, you actually fitted me to a mallet, and I looked down and I hated it, and I was like, I'm never going to use this. So I'm going to stick with my blade because it just looked horrendous. But got used. Don't put that away, Jay. But yeah, got used to it. Now I stand over it with belief that I can actually hold the putt in front of me, which is very nice.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, show us that, Jay. Go on.
Yeah, so I've actually recently just switched to a broomstick. Well, actually, when I say recently, I come and go a little bit with the broomstick, Alex. I think you've probably experienced me with and without it.
Yeah.
But I also, and I really enjoy it. I don't know why. It just feels like I can start the ball online, which I don't feel I can with the shorter putter.
Okay.
But I do have a mallet as well.
Yeah, right.
An old school. I was not that old, but ping mallet. And I've also got a Scotty Cameron blade. So just depends what colour undies I've got on that day.
Have you actually looked at any stats with each putter, or not really?
Not really, no.
No, okay. Which one would you putt best with, you reckon? If you had to go play Augusta tomorrow, which putter are you taking?
Probably my Scotty Cameron blade, but only because I've only just recently switched to this. I'm not so sure on rapidly fast greens, slopey greens, how good the big heavy broomstick would be, but I think that's probably the least of my worries, though, AP, if I was playing Augusta.
Fair enough.
But I actually putting okay with it at the moment. Touch wood.
All right, AP.
Okay, I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Continue through your bag. It's after the putter.
Oh, yes, sorry. So wedges, obviously run the Vokey wedges, 58, 08, 54, 12, and 50, 12, all in the Vokey. Also thinking about swapping my pitching wedge in my set to a 46 degree, just because I like the extra ability just to flight it a little bit lower and maybe spin it a little bit more, because I'm starting to play those types of shots more often, which is good. I've got just I've actually just got the standard wedge shaft in my wedges, mainly because I like the little bit of extra weight in them, and I can also get them in black, which is quite aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, on the wedges.
Have you got black heads?
Yes.
We're not necessarily going to stop at every point in the bag, but on the wedges, you talked about the loft and the bounce. How would that change if you're playing Augusta this week? What would the bounces look like? How would that change with the interaction of the turf? So harder turf, a lot of into the grain chip shots. What would that look like for you?
Yeah, I think in general, if you're going somewhere that has, I guess, firmer conditions, We want something that's got a slightly slimmer sole with less bounce. So I think I'd have to obviously do a little bit of testing with it, but going from, say, an 8-degree bounce in the lob wedge maybe down to kind of the 4-degree, we've got a T-grind, which is very, very popular, very slim sole, just to allow that club to get under the ball and not get caught up too quickly. Probably in the sandwich, I don't think I'd change the bounce personally, just because I'm going to be driving that handle forward, hitting a little bit more down on it anyway. So I'm going to need that little bit of extra bounce to hit those types of shots. So it's probably not a bad idea having that versatility as well. So, having quite a low bounce lob wedge and then a higher bounce sandwich to then go, okay, if this lies a little bit or quite firm, probably go more towards the lower bounce. And maybe if you've got, something that's in a bit of a scruffier lie, I can't imagine there'd be too many scruffy lies at Augusta, mind you. Just maybe using something with a little bit more bounce to just so the club then doesn't grab and kind of moves through that turf a little bit easier. So definitely, those kind of options. And we'd see that as a trend on tour as well, a lower bounce lob wedge and a higher bounce sandwich for those kind of reasons.
How often do you reckon people should change their wedges? One of the biggest questions you get asked when you're coaching is, I want to spin it more. And you say, what sort of ball do you use? Oh, just whatever I find. How old are your wedges? Like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. And it's funny because we talk about how often the tour players change the wedges. And obviously that they're playing a very different game to us. They're practicing every day. They're hitting bunker shots with their wedges. Justin Thomas is a great example because he changes his wedges 12 times a year. His lob wedge 12 times a year. So he's essentially got a lob wedge a month, which is just such a high turnover. You might get some guys that don't change it as frequently. But yeah, he's one of our frequent flyers anyway. And obviously if you're getting them for free, then why wouldn't you? But we do say that, once the grip needs replacing on your lob wedge, it's probably time to look at changing your lob wedge. So they say about 70 rounds of golf is when you start to see quite a significant drop off in performance. Flight goes up, spin comes down, so then you lose that bit of control. And then as soon as you get to kind of 120 rounds, it's gone burger. So so it depends on how much you play, but I think the changing of the grip scenario is a pretty easy way to judge it, I suppose. And you're going to change your lob wedge a lot more than you'll change your sand wedge and gap wedge and pitching wedge. So lob wedge, definitely change it a lot more often, particularly if you're using it out of sand. Then you probably don't need to change your sand wedge and gap wedge as much.
Right, I'll go into your irons.
So I run a little bit of a blended set. So I'm in a T100 from pitching wedge up to 7-iron, and I'm in a Dynamic Gold X100 shaft, half an inch shorter and 2 degrees flat on the lie angle.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of people kind of look at me, and I'm not necessarily a short guy. I'm shorter compared to you guys, but I'd be just above average, I suppose.
You're tall compared to Leachy.
6'1" on Tinder.
True. Yeah, 6'1" on Tinder. You got a Swedish rounding. And but I guess with how I deliver the club and what I want to do with my swing, that just allows me to hit the middle of the face more often. Even if it looks like they're a little bit short for me, I get the best result from that. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. As a club fitter, number one goal is pretty much hit the middle of the face as often as possible. Get that right, and then golf becomes a whole lot easier. So from after the 7-iron, 6 and 5 irons out T150. So slightly bigger head, a little bit more forgiving. They are normally slightly stronger lofted by 2 degrees, but I've had them bent weak to match the lofts of the T100s. Essentially because I know after 7-iron, I'm just a little bit shit. So I need all the help that I can get. Slightly bigger profile just allows me to miss hit it that little bit more. It's got a lower center of gravity, so I don't need to worry about trying to launch the ball up in the air. The club kind of does it for me. I just need to make sure I hit somewhere near the middle of the face and get it going that way, and kind of the club does the rest. And then in the 4-iron, I then go into the T200, bent a couple of degrees weak. So again, thinking about what clubs I'm good with, what clubs I'm bad with. 4-iron's pretty hard to hit, and I'm normally not, trying to aim at a pin with a 4-iron. I'm normally just trying to get it on the green or near the green as best I can. So I just need as much help as possible kind of in that regard. So 3 different heads in my iron setup. And then above that, I kind of swap in and out a 2-iron and a 7-wood. Pretty much since the 7-wood came in the bag, I don't think I've used the 2-iron, because that thing is my new favourite club. It's a 205, almost automatic, goes up this way and down this way really quickly. So that thing, I think that's going to be there for quite a while. And if you had a look at the bags on the of the players at Augusta, a large percentage of them are going to be using 7-woods for that fact. I mean, you know how firm and fast the greens can get at Augusta. They need the ball going that way. And obviously being quite a long course, the 7-wood kind of provides a optimal flight for that. So that's been a really fun addition to the bag. From there, I've got TSR2 3-wood in a Tennessee 1K black 75X, 43 inches, so pretty standard there. And then I have a TSR2 driver 10 degrees, Torride UB 6X in 44.5, so quite short compared to standard. So standard being 45.5, I've gone quite short in that regard, which just helps me hit the middle of the face more often, which again I need as much help as possible.
That was the driver I was hitting, and the sim was yours, actually.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Bang for buck, mate, if someone had, let's say, $1,000, they can buy a driver, or they can buy a few wedges or a putter and have a little bit of change, or maybe towards irons. And I know everyone's going to be different and it depends on your needs and stuff, but as one big question, bang for buck, where would you reckon most people could get the most bang out of a fitting process?
Yeah, and another good question, and it's probably not the answer you'd expect, but I'd probably go for 3 fresh wedges. Right. And it's not a plug because we've got our new SM10s that came out a month ago. But I think looking at what people come in with when I do fit them, and even if I am fitting them for a driver or irons, obviously I'm still looking at the rest of their bag. Their driver, they bought a year ago and is still very modern and still works well for them. Then their wedges are from 20 years ago, and they've got no more grooves on them. They kind of similar to what you said. They want to spin and stop the ball, yet they've got nothing for the ball to grip onto on the face, and they'll use an Optima that they found 10 years ago. So I think the most benefit would be wedges. I think amateurs in general, and you guys probably see this a bit with coaching, I feel like they struggle a lot with short game. And short game is probably the one thing that amateurs or club golfers could potentially do just as well as the guys and girls on tour. We don't need to swing at 120 miles an hour like Rory McIlroy. We don't need to hit it 300 yards down the fairway. We need to hit a 30-meter pitch shot that comes out relatively low with a lot of spin, and we only need to swing it, 30 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour. So it's not a physical limitation. There's no physical limitation, I suppose, there compared to what we see on TV. So being able to dial in wedges, probably, in my opinion, something overlooked in the game at the moment.
Nice. Interesting that he reckons anyone can improve short game. You played with Scotty last night, eh?
I did.
How was his short game? Because he was swinging their wedge in the office today, asking all sorts of, if I do this, do you reckon? What about if I do this?
Well,
so I assumed his short game wasn't fantastic.
Well, funny that because we didn't really need it all that much last night, to be honest, and we
Just flushed it. Yeah.
we
2-ball Ambrose though.
well, we only played with 3 clubs though, which is a limitation in itself. We weren't really chipping all that much. I have seen Scotty chip it before, and I've seen some good things though. I wouldn't say it's horrible, but I'm sure there's maybe a little bit of room for improvement. Maybe some new wedges.
My wedges in 2016.
Yeah, new wedges might help actually. Yeah.
What sort of ball do you use?
So
and why?
I use the Pro V1 X, obviously Titleist. Reason being, I like a lot of spin, even though I probably spin it a little bit too much for what the I recommended would be. I just like the ball stopping, and I like the ball staying a little bit more online. You know, there's a lot of misconception around, you know, what spin will do for a golf shot. In general, it's, you know, particularly with driver where I need a bit of stability, extra spin's gonna stabilize the flight for me. When I get towards, you know, the 1700, 1800 RPM, that's when my ball flight starts to deviate quite a bit. So I just prefer that little bit of extra spin, particularly with driver. And yeah, irons, I kind of feel like, again, I don't need to try and launch the ball. You know, the Pro V1 X is the higher launching, higher spinning ball, so that's just going to help me do that anyway. I just need to put a good swing on it and get it going this way. So yeah, a little bit more spin for me is generally beneficial.
When you say the Pro V1 X is a higher spinning, higher launching ball, I assume that's compared to the Pro V1.
Yeah.
And if so, how does it launch differently?
So there's completely different layers in the golf ball. The case is a different firmness as well, and then with the dimple pattern, the aerodynamics are different. So when it comes to golf ball and the differences that they create, it's never because of one reason. It's because of kind of the collective, the Pro V1 X being a 4-piece ball, Pro V1 being a 3-piece ball, different firmnesses and the different layers and whatnot. So all very, very smart people, obviously, in R&D, kind of working out what does what, and obviously putting it all together to create that nice change.
What sort of ball would you recommend for me?
Well, the Pro V1 X left dash is the longest ball in golf, Jay, and I know you need a little bit of extra help with some distance, so maybe a Pro V1 X left dash. It's a high launching, low spinning golf ball.
Right. Do you know what I base choosing my ball on?
Colour.
Oh,
Why are you laughing?
because you're laughing.
You would
The colour of the number.
The colour of the number.
You would use a yellow ball, eh? You would.
No, I don't like it. It feels different. I don't care what you say. It feels different. But the colour of the number is what I choose. I don't like the black writing and then the red number.
Really?
Yeah. I like, which is the Pro V1, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. That's kind of like
I didn't even know they were different coloured numbers until someone pointed it out to me.
See, that's the advantage of being colourblind.
Yeah. I guess choosing your golf ball based on the colour of the number is a little bit like fitting yourself to some clubs based on your favourite player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Well, it's probably, I reckon the performance outcomes would be less for me than you doing your fitting based on Max Homer's clubs.
Should we put it to the test one day?
How would we do it?
Yeah, I don't know, but it'd be a good test.
I can't see how it would work.
Yeah, I don't know actually. You're probably right, but look, we will never know because we can't test it. So,
no, we can't. No. I'd love to have a game with you though.
It's been a while, Joe. We need an estate cup game actually.
Yeah. How many Titleist players are in the field this week at Augusta? Do you know?
I don't. Have you planned this? Are you trying to trip me up?
No, not at all. I was just trying to deviate from the fact that we were talking about the estate cup, quite frankly.
Yeah. No, look, I'm not sure about how many Titleist players we have. Bearing in mind that a Titleist player is not only just equipment. if you play the golf ball, you are part of the Titleist family. So I'd assume there'd be quite a few out there this week. How many is it? 79 in the field.
Yep. Do you play a Titleist ball?
Yep. Unless I've just found a Bridgestone.
Well, I think we normally get about 70% of the field using our ball, and if you're using our ball, obviously you're Titleist players, so I can't do the maths that quickly, but whatever that would be, is that 50 odd players maybe out of 70?
It's amazing that a major's only got 79 players, eh? And a few randos in there, like the US Mid-Amateur champion and the
Santiago de la Fuente, best name in the field this week.
Right, there you go. Where's he from?
Won't even try and pronounce that.
My guess would be Chile.
Why? Because his name. Wow.
But that's interesting you bring that up, because I was looking through the field and I think there are 5 amateurs, and let's be honest, the amateurs are probably not going to be contending.
Did you watch last year's Masters?
I did, yeah.
Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett?
Sam Bennett. Oh, yeah.
But to be fair, that would be an outlier.
Was he really going to win it, though?
Wasn't far off, was he?
Close.
But
if you were in his position, you would have believed you could win.
But yeah, you're right. You are right, I think.
True. But there's 5 amateurs, so that kind of brings the field down to 73 guys you've got to beat, obviously not yourself, and then you've got your Freddie Couples and Vijay Singh,
Jose
and
Maria
a couple of the older players, yeah. And again, like, are they going to contend? Like, you don't know. So it kind of brings the field down. Call it 10 less players to beat. So it's kind of only 68 players that you've got to kind of
50 make the cut. Good chance.
55, yeah, 50. Is it 55 plus ties or top 50?
Thought it was 50.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, even so if you just want to make the cut, you've only got to beat 18 players, really. But
Tiger's streak's on the line this week. His making the cut. He missed one in 90. When he won 97, so he missed it in 96.
As an amateur, eh?
Yeah, played 95, made it, missed 96. He's made the cut every Masters he's played that he hasn't withdrawn, and he's now tied with Gary Player and Freddie Couples for most cuts made.
Wow.
So he needs to make the cut tomorrow. No,
he won't make it tomorrow.
So yeah, is he going to make the cut? Jay says no.
AP said no.
No, I said no. It was top 5, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, might have been top 5. Yeah.
I think he'll make the cut.
I think based on the stats I've literally just pulled out my backside, yeah, I think he is gonna.
I don't reckon he'll miss the cut.
Okay, so it's either going to withdraw or he'll make it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the way you've answered that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yep.
Because it's too hard on him, I think, to miss the cut. Too hard on his legacy.
Yeah.
So he'll pull out.
All right. Anything else for AP before we go to some quick fires?
No, let's go to the quick fires. Are we both doing the quick fires?
Yeah.
Or is it just him?
Just him.
Okay.
Best golf shot you've ever hit?
Oh, 3-wood into 18 at Kinloch to beat you for the first time.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that was a good.
I mean, I shot 80 and you shot 81, so it wasn't exactly.
They call that the one-legged ass-kicking competition.
It's a go and ruin the day. It's a great answer, and you just ruined it. Shall I go again? Yeah. Favourite course in New Zealand?
Oh, that was my question. Damn it.
I've already put Kinloch without a doubt. But I'd love to put a little honourable mention for a Hopi. I really like a Hopi as a kind of country course or maybe hidden gem.
Okay. Favourite club in your bag? I didn't realise that we were both playing. I thought it was just you. That's why.
It'd be the new 7-wood, Jay. Love that one.
Nice.
If you could design a golf hole, what would it be?
Ooh, I think it would have to be a drivable par 4 with a bit of water involved. So maybe, obviously, a few different tees, but from the back tees, maybe like a 250 carry onto a green that's maybe 280 to 290 meters away. And then obviously have some forward tees so you can go at it if you're not as long. I do like a little short par 4 with a bit of risk and reward. So something along those lines. Maybe some nice bunkering too.
You dream 4-ball?
Have you heard of the band Blackpink?
Do I look like I've heard of the band Blackpink?
No.
He's a
Is it a K-pop? Is it a K-pop band?
It is a K-pop band. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Anybody? It can be no restrictions on who.
No, they can be dead or alive, a golfer and not a golfer, just 3 people to play with.
Yeah, okay. I think Max Homer would be there. Maybe someone like Shohei Ohtani, the baseballer.
I was going to say, who the hell is that?
He seems like I don't think his English is great, so that might be a tough 4 hours. And then I'd probably say someone like Tom Cruise, just because I'd love to see what he's like.
I'm out.
It's going to be cut into a short, isn't it? Just because I'd love to know what he would be like on the golf course, because he seems like this big, like energetic, uber positive, person that can do everything. So I'd love to see what he could do out there, particularly in a space.
Mission Impossible is a movie, eh?
Yeah, but have you seen all the other? Yeah, he does all his own stunts though, Jay. Would you jump off a building?
He's never done a golf stunt. I don't think he's very good on a golf course.
So maybe get him outside his comfort zone.
No, that's a lovely 4-ball with you. You'd be a great addition to that group.
Yeah.
Nice.
Any more?
No, I'm out.
Okay, so last one is for both of you. Who wins this week? I'm going John Rahm.
Scotty Scheffler.
You said he wasn't going to finish in the top 5 before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to go Will Zalatoris.
Yeah.
So which is it? You still sticking with Scotty?
Yeah. Scotty Scheffler.
Okay. All right. My
I was wondering
takeaway.
why you're looking at me like I was a fucking idiot.
My takeaway from this is Jay thinks that he is the fastest swinger of a driver of all grandfathers.
Yeah, I don't think I am now, because actually while we've been talking, I've been thinking, no, he'd be quicker than me.
So I will do some research and we'll see what we can find there. Thank you very much, Alex, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Anything from you before we go?
No, thank you, AP. Lovely to have you. Lovely to see you. Love your work. You've inspired me to have a look at. Maybe it's the driver fitting that's been my problem all this time.
Yeah.
All right. That's a wrap for episode 3 on the ForeRight podcast.
Good timing.
We'll settle in and watch the big cat.
Right.
Cheers. See ya.
See you, man. Peace out.